They shoved her in the hallway, laughed, and walked away, but they had no idea the quiet new girl they just humiliated was a state karate champion. The first thing Tiana Cole noticed when she stepped out of her mom's car wasn't the size of Jefferson High or the crowd of students swarming toward the main entrance. It was how loud everything felt. The chatter, the sneakers hitting the pavement, the slamming car doors, all of it pressed in on her at once. Her mom leaned over the steering wheel and smiled softly. "You got this, baby. Just be yourself." Tiana nodded, clutching her backpack straps. She wanted to believe that, but after moving 3 times in 5 years, she knew how being yourself didn't always work out. Every school had its pecking order, and the new kid, especially the quiet one who didn't talk much, usually started at the bottom. "Call me if you need anything," her mom said, as Tiana shut the car door. She stood there for a moment, adjusting to the chaos around her. Kids waving to friends, groups laughing like they'd never been apart, a football player tossing a ball across the lawn. No one looked her way. She was invisible. For now, that was fine. Inside, the smell of floor polish mixed with cafeteria food hit her nose. The hallways stretched long and bright, the walls lined with banners, "Home of the Jefferson Eagles," and "Go big or go home." Tiana walked slowly, trying to find her homeroom. Her sneakers squeaked a little on the freshly waxed floor. Every locker seemed to be surrounded by clusters of friends. The loud ones, the stylish ones, the ones glued to their phones. She passed them all, quietly scanning the room numbers. Then she heard it. "Yo, who's the new girl?" A voice called from somewhere behind her. Tiana didn't turn around. She'd learned it was better not to react, but she could feel eyes following her, curious, judging, sizing her up. "Probably some transfer from the city," another voice said. "She looks lost already." Her hand tightened around her schedule. She didn't want trouble. She just wanted to get to class. She finally found room 214. The teacher, a tall man with glasses and an easy smile, welcomed her in. "You must be Tiana Cole. Everyone, this is our new student." A few polite hellos, some stares, 1 or 2 whispers. Tiana took the empty seat near the back. She slid her notebook out of her bag and kept her eyes on the board. The teacher started explaining something about upcoming projects, but Tiana barely heard a word. All she could think about was making it through the day without standing out. At lunch, she sat alone at the far end of the cafeteria, her tray untouched. She watched the room, the way people moved in groups, how laughter always seemed to come from the same tables. Every now and then, someone glanced her way. Most didn't. That's when it happened. A tray slammed onto the table across from her, making her jump. A girl with glossy hair and a sharp grin leaned forward. "You're the new one, right? Tiana something?" "Yeah," Tiana said carefully. The girl smirked. "I'm Brooke. These are my friends, Jenna and Sky." 2 other girls sat down beside her. All 3 looked like they'd stepped out of a fashion ad. Manicured nails, perfect hair, matching phone cases. "So," Brooke continued, "where'd you move from?" "Atlanta." Brooke tilted her head. "Oh, that's cute. Bet it's real different here." Tiana gave a small shrug. "A little." Sky snorted. "A little? Girl, you're not in the city anymore. People actually know each other here." Brooke laughed, then leaned closer. "Don't worry. We'll teach you how things work at Jefferson." Tiana smiled politely, unsure what that meant, but it didn't sound friendly. When the bell rang, Brooke and her friends stood up. Brooke gave her a look that lingered a second too long, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "See you around, Atlanta?" As they walked off, Tiana let out a quiet breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Her mom's words echoed in her mind. Just be yourself. She wanted to. But something told her that was going to be harder here than she thought. But she didn't know yet. This was only the calm before everything changed. By the second day, Tiana had already memorized her route between classes. She walked fast, eyes down, earbuds in, the perfect formula for invisibility. It worked most of the time. But in Jefferson High, some people noticed quiet. In English class, Brooke sat 2 rows over, chewing gum and whispering to Sky while pretending to listen to the teacher. Every few minutes, Tiana felt Brooke's eyes flick toward her. When the bell rang, Brooke stretched dramatically and said, just loud enough, "Some people really think being quiet makes them mysterious." "It's just boring," Sky giggled. "For real." Tiana pretended not to hear. She packed her notebook and walked out, but she could feel that kind of laughter, the one meant to sting. In the hallway, she found herself stuck behind a crowd of students moving too slow. That's when someone bumped her shoulder, hard. "Watch where you're going," a voice snapped. Tiana looked up. It was Jace Nolan, a tall boy with a varsity jacket and that easy confidence that made teachers like him. He didn't even look sorry. Brooke was standing next to him, smirking. "I didn't bump into you," Tiana said evenly. Jace turned slightly. "Oh, so it's my fault now?" Brooke crossed her arms. "You're really not doing yourself any favors, new girl." Tiana blinked, unsure what to say. Before she could respond, the bell rang. The crowd broke apart, and Brooke and Jace walked off laughing. The rest of the day, the tension followed her, like a shadow she couldn't shake. In the bathroom between classes, she heard two girls talking near the sinks. "She's from Atlanta, right?" "Yeah, I heard she used to fight people there." "No way." "She doesn't even talk to anyone." "Exactly. That's what makes it weird." Tiana stepped out of the stall, and the girls froze. They both gave awkward smiles and hurried out without washing their hands. She looked at herself in the mirror. Her reflection stared back, calm, unreadable. Years of karate had taught her how to control her reactions. You never let anger make your next move. Still, something about this place, the constant whispers, the subtle jokes, made her chest feel heavy. That afternoon, her mom picked her up. "How was day 2? She asked cheerfully. Tiana stared out the window. "It was fine." Her mom gave her a look. "You sure?" Tiana nodded. "Yeah." She didn't want to worry her. Her mom worked long hours at the medical center in downtown Tulsa. They'd already been through enough moves and new starts. This one needed to work. When they got home, Tiana went straight to the garage, her little sanctuary. The floor mats were laid out, her old trophies lined the shelf. 2 gold, 1 silver, 1 small bronze from a state championship. She tied her hair back, slipped into her GE, and started her warm-up. Punches, kicks, control, breath. Karate wasn't just a sport. It was a language she understood when words failed her. Her mom peeked in after a while. "Still practicing, huh?" "Helps me think," Tiana said between kicks. Her mom smiled softly. "Good. But remember, not everyone's going to understand that kind of strength. Some people only see what they want to see." Tiana slowed down, breathing steady. "Yeah," she said quietly. "I know." The next morning, things felt off right away. When she opened her locker, a sticky note was plastered on the inside. "Maybe karate can help you make friends. LOL. She stood there, staring at it. A small circle of kids nearby were laughing. Too loudly, too conveniently. Tiana peeled the note off and folded it neatly into her pocket. No reaction. That was her rule. At lunch, she sat by herself again. Brooke's table was a few rows down. Every now and then, Tiana caught her whispering something and glancing her way. Finally, one of Brooke's friends, Sky, called out, "Hey, Atlanta! You do karate, right? Show us some moves." Brooke snorted. "Yeah, maybe she can break the cafeteria tray." A few students laughed. Tiana looked up from her food, eyes calm, voice steady. "You should probably focus on your own tray." That made a few heads turn. Even Brooke blinked, surprised, but then her grin returned. "Oh, she's got jokes now." "Okay, new girl." The bell rang, ending the tension for now. Tiana stood, dumped her tray, and walked out without looking back. But the whisper that followed her down the hallway wasn't laughter this time. It was the start of something else, something that wouldn't stay small for long. Friday mornings at Jefferson High always carried a strange kind of energy, half excitement for the weekend, half exhaustion from surviving the week. For Tiana, it just meant one more day to keep her head down and stay out of the spotlight. She'd almost made it to her locker that morning when she noticed something off. Brooke, Sky, and Jace were standing nearby, talking in low voices. Their eyes cut toward her, then back to each other. It wasn't just casual. It was deliberate. Tiana slowed her pace, pretending not to notice, but her instincts sharpened. Years of competition had tuned her awareness. She could feel when eyes were on her, when something was about to happen. She turned the corner, books in hand, and that's when it happened. A sudden shove from behind. Her books went flying across the floor, paper scattered like leaves. The sound of laughter followed instantly. Tiana stumbled forward, catching herself against a locker. She turned around, and there they were. See? Brooke covering her mouth like she was trying not to laugh, Sky pretending to look surprised, and Jay smirking as if he'd just scored a touchdown. "Oops," Brooke said, feigning innocence. "Guess someone tripped." The hallway went quiet. Students stopped and stared, some whispering, others pretending not to watch. Tiana didn't say a word. She crouched down slowly, gathering her books. Her fingers trembled slightly, not from fear, but from restraint. Sky leaned over her shoulder. "Hey, sorry about that," she said, voice dripping with sarcasm. "Didn't mean to make you drop everything." Brooke snickered. "You okay, Atlanta?" "You look kind of mad." Tiana stood up, books pressed against her chest. Her breathing was slow, measured. She looked Brooke straight in the eye. "I'm fine," she said quietly. Brooke blinked, thrown off by the calm in her tone. "Good. Wouldn't want to mess up your karate vibes or whatever." A few people laughed. Others shifted uncomfortably. Tiana turned and began walking away, her steps steady. But as she moved past them, Jace muttered under his breath, "Guess that black belt's just for show." That stopped her. She turned halfway, not fully facing him, just enough to make eye contact. "You don't know what it's for," she said. Her voice was even, but the weight behind it silenced the hallway for a split second. Then she walked off, leaving the laughter to fade behind her. That afternoon, she could feel the echoes of the moment following her. People whispering, retelling the story in fragments that didn't line up. Some said she'd tried to fight them and back down. Others said she cried. None of it was true. After school, Tiana sat in the gym bleachers, watching the cheerleaders practice while the basketball team warmed up on the other end. The sound of sneakers squeaking against the court echoed through the room. "Hey," a voice said from behind her. She turned and saw a girl she didn't recognize, tall, with curly brown hair and a backpack covered in pins. "I'm Zoe," the girl said. "You're Tiana, right?" Tiana nodded cautiously. "I saw what happened this morning." "That was messed up," Zoe said, sitting down beside her. "Those guys think they run the school." Tiana gave a faint smile. "I'm used to people like that." Zoe tilted her head. "Used to it? That's not normal." Tiana looked toward the court. "It's easier not to react." Zoe studied her for a second, then said quietly, "Yeah, but sometimes not reacting makes them think they won." That sentence stuck with Tiana longer than she wanted to admit. When she got home, she practiced again in the garage. Every strike was cleaner, sharper. She wasn't angry, she was focused. Her mom came out halfway through, holding a mug of coffee. "Tough day?" she asked gently. Tiana hesitated. "Some kids at school don't like me much." Her mom's eyes softened. "People fear what they don't understand, honey. You don't have to fight to prove anything. Just remember who you are." Tiana nodded. "I know, Mom." But that night, lying in bed, her mind replayed the shove, the laughter, the faces that thought she was weak. And deep down, something in her shifted. She didn't want revenge. She wanted respect. But respect at Jefferson High wasn't given. It had to be earned. And sometimes it came at a cost. By Monday morning, the story had already grown wings. Every corner of Jefferson High carried a new version of it. Tiana pushed someone. Tiana almost started a fight. Tiana cried in the hall. The truth had been twisted so many times that even she wasn't sure what people believed anymore. She kept walking with that same calm stride, but her eyes caught how students stopped whispering whenever she passed. Some looked curious. Others looked amused. A few looked scared, like she was some kind of ticking bomb. At her locker, Zoe appeared again, waving a folded piece of paper. "They're really doing the most," she said, handing it over. It was a meme someone had made, a photoshopped image of Tiana in a karate uniform with the caption, "Don't bump me or I'll roundhouse kick your GPA." Tiana stared at it for a few seconds, then folded it neatly and slipped it into her binder. "Guess they needed something new to talk about." Zoe shook her head. "You're way too calm about this." "I've dealt with worse," Tiana said simply. But inside she wasn't calm. She was tired. Tired of being misunderstood. Tired of pretending she didn't care. In the middle of third period, the intercom crackled. "Tiana Cole, please report to the main office." A few heads turned toward her. Brooke's smirk from across the room said everything. When Tiana reached the office, the assistant principal, Mr. Simmons, gestured for her to sit down. Tiana, I just wanted to clear up a few things. We've heard about an incident in the hallway last week. Tiana sat straight. Yes, sir. He glanced at a paper. Apparently, there was some kind of confrontation. I got pushed, Tiana said calmly. I didn't respond. He looked up. No fighting? No, sir. He studied her for a moment, then nodded. All right, that's what I thought. Just try to steer clear of drama, okay? She managed a polite smile. I'm trying. When she left the office, Brooke was standing near the water fountain with Sky, waiting. So, Brooke said, her voice light but her eyes sharp. You tattled? Tiana's jaw tightened slightly. No one tattled. They called me in. Right, Brooke said, drawing out the word. You should be careful, new girl. People don't like snitches. Zoe appeared from around the corner. And people don't like bullies either, she shot back. Brooke's grin faltered. Wasn't talking to you. Yeah, well, I'm talking to you, Zoe said, stepping closer. Tiana reached out, gently pulling Zoe back by the sleeve. It's not worth it, she said softly. Brooke smirked again. See? Even your friend knows her place. Then she and Sky walked off, laughing under their breath. Zoe turned to Tiana. How do you stay so calm? Tiana looked down the hallway. Because reacting gives them power. And I'm not handing that over. That night, after homework, she called her old karate coach back in Atlanta, Sensei Paul Morales, the man who had trained her since she was 9. How's Tulsa treating you? He asked. Tiana hesitated. It's different. He could hear it in her tone. Trouble? Just people who think I won't stand up for myself. There was a pause. Then his voice grew steady and warm. You remember what I told you after your first tournament loss? Tiana smiled faintly. Control beats strength. Exactly. You don't need to prove you're stronger. You just need to prove you can't be broken. After they hung up, she sat on the edge of her bed, staring at her hands. They weren't just hands that could strike or block. They were hands that carried restraint, discipline, pride. The next day, Zoe told her some students were planning to mess with her after school. Nothing serious, just to scare her. Tiana didn't say anything at first. She closed her locker, adjusted her backpack, and met Zoe's eyes. Thanks for telling me. Zoe frowned. You're not going to tell a teacher? Tiana shook her head. No, I'll handle it. But Zoe didn't realize, when Tiana said handle it, she didn't mean fighting back in anger. She meant standing her ground in a way they'd never expect. The school day crawled by like a slow storm rolling in. By the last bell, the air outside felt heavier, thicker, as if even the wind knew something was about to happen. Students poured out through the main doors, some heading for the parking lot, others waiting for buses. Tiana walked toward the side gate near the gym, her backpack slung over one shoulder. Zoe had offered to walk with her, but Tiana told her not to. It's fine, she'd said, her tone steady. They need to see I'm not scared. As she rounded the corner near the back lot, she saw them, Brooke, Sky, and Jace, leaning against a low brick wall. A couple of other students stood nearby, clearly there just to watch. Word had spread fast. Brooke straightened up and crossed her arms. Told you she'd show up, she said loudly. Couldn't resist the drama. Tiana stopped a few feet away. You wanted me here, right? Brooke smirked. We just wanted to talk. Sky laughed. Yeah, talk. Jace stepped forward, cracking his knuckles in mock intimidation. Heard you got some fancy karate trophies. Think you can show us a few moves? Tiana met his gaze, expression unreadable. You don't want that. That made a few of the bystanders snicker. Brooke's smirk widened. Wow, real tough talk for someone who spends lunch alone. Tiana took a slow breath. You done? Brooke tilted her head. Not quite. You made us look stupid in the hallway. People think we're bullies now. Tiana said quietly. You are bullies. The laughter died down a bit. Sky shifted uncomfortably. Jace's grin faltered. Brooke stepped closer, her face only inches away. Say that again. Tiana didn't flinch. You are bullies. Brooke shoved her shoulder, hard. The crowd let out a small gasp. Tiana took one step back, her stance instinctive, balanced. Not aggressive, just ready. Go ahead, Brooks said, sneering. Hit me. Show everyone who you really are. But Tiana didn't move. Her breathing was even, her posture calm. Scared? Jace said. No, Tiana said softly. Just smarter. Brooks' smirk returned for a split second, until Tiana's eyes locked on hers, unblinking. The quiet confidence in that look was unsettling. Brooke tried to laugh it off, but her voice cracked slightly. Jace stepped closer. You think you're better than us, huh? Tiana tilted her head. No, I just know who I am. Do you? That line hit harder than anyone expected. A few of the onlookers exchanged looks. Even Sky shifted her weight, her confidence crumbling. Jace reached out as if to grab Tiana's backpack. In one smooth motion, not violent, not reckless, Tiana twisted her arm, stepping aside, redirecting his movement just like she'd practiced for years. His balance broke, and he stumbled forward, landing awkwardly on the pavement. The crowd gasped. Tiana didn't follow up, didn't strike, didn't even raise her hands again. She just stood still, voice calm. You should stop. Jace scrambled up, red-faced. You pushed me. No, she said, still calm. You tried to grab me. I just moved. Even Brooke looked rattled now. You can't. But her voice faltered. She looked around and realized every person watching had their phones out. The moment wasn't going her way. Tiana adjusted her backpack. You wanted to make a point. You did. Everyone saw it. She turned to leave, but before she took her second step, Brooke muttered something under her breath. Something cruel. Something meant to hurt. Tiana stopped, her back still turned. She didn't speak for a long moment. Then, without raising her voice, she said, Strength isn't about how hard you hit. It's about knowing when not to. Then she walked away, leaving silence in her wake. The students who had gathered didn't cheer. They didn't mock. They just watched, unsure what to say. Because what they had witnessed wasn't a fight. It was control. It was power without chaos. Brooke looked around, trying to laugh it off, but the sound didn't land. Jace avoided her eyes. Sky picked up her bag and muttered, Let's just go. That evening, videos of the confrontation flooded social media. Tiana Cole versus the Bullies became the talk of the school. But what surprised everyone wasn't the clip of Jace falling. It was the way Tiana didn't retaliate. The calm in her face. The control in her movements. The way she walked away. Her mom found out later that night. Not from the school, but from a coworker who had seen the clip online. Tiana, she said, standing in the kitchen, phone in hand. What happened? Tiana hesitated. They cornered me. I didn't want to fight. Her mom watched her for a long time, then nodded slowly. You didn't just protect yourself, baby. You protected your peace. Tiana looked down. I didn't want them to think they could break me. Her mom smiled faintly. And you showed them that without saying a word. But what Tiana didn't expect was how that one quiet act of strength would ripple through the school and change everything by morning. By Tuesday morning, Jefferson High was buzzing. Not with laughter this time, but with talk. Everyone had seen the video. The clip had spread overnight on Snapchat, Instagram, even TikTok. It wasn't long, just 15 seconds, but it told a story no one could stop replaying. Brooks' shove, Jace's stumble, and Tiana standing there, calm, unmoved, unshaken. When she walked through the front doors that morning, the air felt different. People didn't whisper about her anymore, said they moved aside to let her pass. A few even gave small nods, the kind people give when they've just realized they misjudged someone. Zoe found her by the lockers. You've officially gone viral, she said, eyes wide. Half the school's calling you Karate Girl. Tiana sighed, trying not to smile. That's not really the title I was aiming for. Zoe grinned. Hey, it's better than what they were calling you last week. A group of juniors passed by. One of them said quietly, She didn't even swing. That's what got me. She just knew she didn't have to. That part, the restraint, was what hit people the hardest. By second period, Brooke and Jace were called to the main office. Sky followed, looking pale. Rumors spread fast again, but this time, the narrative had flipped. In the cafeteria, a few students started sitting near Tiana's table. Not close enough to seem forced, but close enough to show quiet respect. "Hey," one of the basketball players said, awkwardly scratching his head. "That thing you did, that was pretty solid. You didn't even lose your cool, thanks," Tiana said. At lunch, Zoe leaned over. "You realize you just taught half the school a life lesson without saying much?" Tiana smirked. "Guess actions really do speak louder." Later that day, the assistant principal, Mr. Simmons, asked to see her again. This time, the tone was completely different. "I saw the footage," he said. "I just want to say, you handled that situation better than most adults would have." Tiana nodded politely. "I didn't want to fight." "That's exactly why it worked," he said. "You showed control, not aggression. That's real strength." When she left the office, Brooke was sitting in the waiting area, arms crossed, face red. Their eyes met briefly. Brooke looked away first. Outside, Zoe was waiting for her. "So, what happens now?" Tiana took a breath. "Nothing, I hope. I'm not here to make enemies." That afternoon, she went back to her garage, slipped into her GI, and practiced like she always did. Quiet, focused, steady. Her mom watched from the doorway, pride softening her face. "You know," her mom said, "I saw some of the comments online. People keep saying you won, but what they don't understand is you didn't win a fight. You won yourself." Tiana paused mid-kick, lowering her stance. "Yeah," she said softly, "that's the only victory that matters." The next day at school, something unexpected happened. Brooke walked up to her during lunch. Alone this time. No Jace, no Sky. She looked nervous, fidgeting with her sleeve. "Look, I shouldn't have done what I did. We were being stupid." Tiana studied her face, then gave a small nod. "Okay. That's it? Just okay?" Brooke asked. "I can't change what happened," Tiana said. "Neither can you. But you can do better." Next time, Brooke hesitated, then whispered, "I will." When she walked away, Zoe raised her eyebrows. "You think she means it?" Tiana shrugged. "Maybe. Everyone learns in their own time, but one thing was certain. Jefferson High wasn't the same school it had been last week, and Tiana Cole wasn't just the new girl anymore. She was proof that quiet strength could echo louder than any punch. The week after the incident felt almost unreal. The hallways that once buzzed with whispers now carried something different. Respect. Tiana didn't walk faster or straighter. She was the same girl she'd always been. The only difference was how people saw her now. Teachers started using words like discipline and grace under pressure when they talked about her. A few even mentioned what happened during morning announcements, not to glorify it, but to remind students what real control looks like. Zoe teased her about it. "You realize you're basically school famous now?" Tiana chuckled. "I don't want to be famous. I just wanted to be left alone." "Well, you got more than that," Zoe said, grinning. "You got respect, and that's harder to earn." They sat outside under the oak tree near the track, where Tiana sometimes ate lunch now. For once, she wasn't sitting alone. A few younger students nearby were practicing light karate moves, mimicking what they'd seen in the video. One of them, a freshman with glasses, walked over nervously. Miss Tiana, my mom saw your video and said you were amazing. She told me to tell you that being calm is harder than fighting." Tiana smiled gently. "Your mom's right." He grinned, thanked her, and ran back to his friends. Zoe laughed softly. "Look at that. You're out here inspiring people." Tiana shook her head. "I just reacted the only way I knew how." But later that evening, as she stood in her garage again, barefoot on the mat, the late sun painting everything gold, she realized something deeper. She hadn't just reacted, she had chosen restraint. She'd chosen peace in a place that expected violence. And that choice had changed more than just her reputation. Her mom stepped in quietly, folding her arms as she watched her daughter's slow, deliberate movements. "You ever think about how this might have gone differently if you'd lost your temper?" Tiana nodded. "All the time." Her mom smiled. "You showed them what real power looks like. Not the kind that shouts, but the kind that stands still and makes people think." Tiana thought about Brooke, about Jace, about all the kids who watched her that day and saw something they didn't understand at first. Strength without anger. She thought about how quickly things had turned from mockery to respect, and she thought about her old coach's words. You just need to prove you can't be broken. Now, she finally understood. At school the next day, Brooke passed her in the hallway and gave a small nod. No words, no fake smile, just acknowledgement. That was enough. As Tiana closed her locker and started toward class, Zoe walked beside her. You know, Zoe said, a week ago, people were laughing at you. Now, they're quoting you. Tiana smiled faintly. Guess people learn fast when they see what patience really looks like. Zoe grinned. So, what's next for Jefferson High's karate champion? Tiana shrugged. Same thing as always. Stay calm, stay kind, and stay me. They laughed together, and for the first time since she'd moved to Tulsa, the school finally felt like a place she belonged. Before the final bell that day, her English teacher, Mr. Harris, stopped her as she packed her bag. Tiana, can I ask you something? Sure. If you could tell the class one thing about what happened, what would it be? Tiana paused, thinking. Then she said, that control isn't weakness. Sometimes walking away takes more courage than throwing a punch. He smiled. That's a lesson worth remembering. Sometimes life will test your patience in ways that tempt you to react out of anger or pride. But real strength, the kind that lasts, is choosing peace when chaos begs for your attention. Like Tiana, you don't need to prove your worth by fighting every battle. Prove it by standing tall, staying calm, and remembering who you are, no matter who's watching.